So I want to welcome everybody to our second session of our community practice through the California Environmental Literacy Initiative and the County Office of Education Hub. So as most of you already know, my name is Jen Much, and I am the science coordinator at Santa Clara County Office of Ed. And I've got a fantastic team that's here. We'll all be introducing ourselves shortly in different sections, but welcome everybody. So we want to go to the next slide, please. So we want to talk about land acknowledgement. And we know that just this last week, we celebrated Indigenous Peoples Day, and that's kind of a day to reflect and think about the lands that we're on. And a lot of us are creating and utilizing land acknowledgements in our organizations, in our office and county offices. But we wanted to share this particular slide because this resource and this information, and it's really going beyond land acknowledgement, really thinking about actions you can take and having an action plan when you're thinking about, when you're working with the Indigenous tribes in your area, et cetera, making sure you're doing an assessment, thinking about your resources and how you can provide support to Indigenous people, make sure you're doing research, because sometimes it could just be, it could be seen as just, oh, that's a thing we're checking off the list. And we really don't want that to be the case. So make sure you have a plan again and reflect on what you're doing. An example I could share quickly is we recently had a meeting with the Amamutsan tribe, and they wanted us to help them with some curriculum they're developing and connected to some biodiversity and things like that. So it's just really good to keep connected. So next slide, please. So the other thing we want to make sure and remind ourselves that we are, our community practice is our objectives. So we share resources and innovative practices, and we intend to build the capacity of county offices of education to serve as the regional backbone support for following outcomes. And I won't read all of them, but just making sure that you're developing a district-wide plan, you're supporting access to ongoing environmental and outdoor learning experiences, work with districts, look at frameworks. We know that all the curriculum frameworks include the environmental principles and concepts. We'll be, digging into that in the next community practice session. And then also making sure you're thinking about sustainability principles and practices and our core operations of county office. Next slide, please. So we want to make sure that today is October 14th. See, I don't even know what day it is. October 14th, 2021. This is our second session. And we're focusing on community-based partner networks and how to facilitate those. Our next meeting after this is in December 9th. Just please make sure that you're registered for those meetings, and you should get the link for that or have the link already. So next slide, please. So now we're just going to do a quick connector. We're just going to do this in the chat, and because we have a lot of content to cover today, we won't have time for an initial breakout room, but don't put it in the chat yet. We're going to do, a lot of you are learning this strategy, the waterfall strategy, or the chatterfall, as I've heard it. So think about the last memorable outdoor adventure that you had, most recent one, and write a sentence or two about that in the chat, but don't hit enter yet. So I'll give you a little bit of time to write that. And just when I say go, then I'm not saying it officially yet, but when I say go, just put it in the chat, and then everyone will see all the different cool adventures everybody's been on lately. Even if it's just a couple of words. Hiking outside or, all right. I hope everyone's ready. And go. Enter your chat file. Ooh, look at all these cool adventures. Oh, Yosemite wine tasting. All right. Oh, I forgot to enter mine. Awesome. Oh, the fall leaves. Yes, fall colors. Yeah, awesome. Okay, thanks everyone. So if you see one that you like, just message that person or connect with them that way. So, and then when you go into breakout rooms, you can connect too. So just our agenda for today, we're working on it. We're sharing the community-based partner toolkit that has been developed, and you'll get to hear more about that in a minute. But and we're going to have a panel today as well, and a discussion about community-based partner networks and working on those and developing those. And then we'll talk about our next steps and do a survey and a closing. So, and our next person to present is Andrew. Take it away, Andrew.
Hi, good morning, folks. Super happy that everybody's here. I'm Andrea Goyen. I'm the Environmental Literacy and Sustainability Coordinator at the San Mateo County Office of Ed. So I just want to do a quick introduction to who are community-based partners and why do we work with them. So go ahead to next slide. So I think something that is really helpful is to understand what are the types of work that community-based partners might focus on. And it took me a while, like I'm starting my 5th year now in this role, and it took me a while to just sort out that there are partners who do curriculum, and there's partners who are content experts, and there's partners who do student-facing programs, and then there's partners who help do professional development, and there's partners who fund. So I think it's helpful to really think about the different types of work that some community-based partners might do. And go ahead to the next slide. It also is helpful to just think of the types of community-based partners. So we've spent a lot of time here in our innovation hub, really thinking about who are these different types. And oftentimes it correlates to the list I just shared before, which are like what they do. But what we have tried to do is put different partners in buckets so that we could better understand what are the relationships we might have with them. So today we're going to be talking about the ones in green for the most part. So environmental education providers who do student-facing programs like field trips or coming into schools and being guest speakers. We will talk in other sessions about supplemental curriculum partners. So when we talk about curriculum, that's when we'll talk about them. We will talk about green facilities and operations partners. When we talk about facilities, we'll talk about funding partners all the time. And we'll also talk about some of the others as we go through. But today is really going to be focused mostly on environmental ed providers. And of course, that correlates really heavily sometimes with expanded learning partners, because a lot of these partners will do after school programs and summer programs and stuff like that. So that's the main focus today. So I just want to give people a chance to reflect on this in some breakout rooms. So just like a quick kind of warming up using our voices, but also really getting into this content a bit, give you a chance to share out what type of partners do you already work with and in what capacity. So we're going to put people, I don't even know what kind of breakout rooms, but we're going to put people into some breakout rooms to just have a quick conversation around who are these different partners that you might interact with and in what ways. Does somebody have the breakout rooms ready? Okay, great. Thank you. So, yeah, go in by your region. I'm just seeing that now. Sorry, you're going to go into it from the region that you're in. So go ahead and select your region. And if anyone needs help being put in one, just let us know and we'll put you into a breakout room.
Yeah, hi. I don't know what region I'm in.
Oh yeah, do we have the region map?
I think it's on a slide. Yeah. Getting there. Oh, maybe not. I thought we had it on a slide.
We do.
It's on slide 18.
Anthony in the chat was also saying region 1.
All right, region 5. Thank you.
Yeah. If anybody else needs help going into a region, let us know.
Thank you all so much and have a wonderful
I'm trying to get into mine, and every time I get to join, it keeps kicking me back here.
What region are you in, Anthony?
Oh, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. A little bit more framing for today. So today we're going to really be looking at the idea of all these community-based partners and how we can support them at the COE through networks. And so we have a list here on the screen of different networks that already exist for community-based partners. So there are some at the national level, there's some at the state level, there's some at the regional level. What we're going to really focus on today is what does it look like to do a community-based partner network at the local and county level. So there's a couple of different county offices here that have already started a network like this. And so we'll hear from some of them. And then there's other resources we'll share for the ones that we won't hear from today, so that you can explore that as well. So next slide. So one thing I wanted to just go back one.
No.
Okay, there we go. All right. So in terms of responsibility and benefits of community-based partner networks, so there's a lot that we can gain from networking our community-based partners, especially our environmental education partners. And one of the big things that we can gain is to support equitable access to that across our counties. The other thing is just helping our community-based partners really line up with different standards and really making sure that their programs are high quality, and then really connecting them to our district. So there's a lot of mutual beneficial outcomes that we can have for what we're trying to do from the COE, but also from what they're trying to do. However, we want to just put out this caveat here that CBP networks are not required for COEs. So if you're thinking like, oh, I want to do an environmental literacy initiative, but that sounds like way too much, I'm not ready for that, that's okay. It's not a requirement to bring environmental literacy into your county. We're just going to offer it up right now as a tool and something that you can explore. So I'm going to turn it now back over to Amity to actually introduce the toolkit that could help you do it if you'd like.
All right. So we're going to put a link shortly in the chat to the actual toolkit. We just want to give you a little bit of time. Oh, sorry, that was premature, to jump into it and explore it. But first, I just wanted to give a little background on the creation of the toolkit. So its development was supported by CALI and the County Office of Education Innovation Hub. Because as our group began working together, we realized that in our work to advance environmental literacy at our county offices, we had all experienced firsthand benefits of having a community-based partner network in our regions. And we thought that a toolkit to support COEs to launch or strengthen networks would be useful. So we surveyed existing networks across the state that were high functioning and analyzed the data to look for trends and best practices. And we also consulted existing resources from leaders in the field who had already identified research-based best practices. And over again, we kept seeing that environmental literacy community-based partners can play a key role in supporting more equitable access to outdoor education, environmental education, green careers, and community programs that address local, state, and national environmental challenges. And I would add global challenges. So we wanted to provide COEs with a tool to help them maximize the resources in your own communities. And we wrote the toolkit with the lens of equity at the forefront and with the COE as the primary target audience. Though certainly a different type of key stakeholder organization could also use the toolkit to take the lead on supporting a network. So now we're going to give you a little bit of time to explore, and we put together a scavenger hunt to just encourage navigating to different parts of the toolkit. So you'll get into very small groups, three people or so, and just divide up these questions with your small group. You can think about which two, you'll probably each take 2 questions that you might want to explore, and then have a little bit of silent time to look at the toolkit and find the answers to your questions, and then come back together and share. So, oops, sorry about that. There are instructions and the, there's a document with the instructions and questions, and the link will go in the chat, but I'll leave this up here as well. And we'll see you back here in, let's see, about 9 minutes. Go ahead and join your rooms and let us know if you're having any trouble. Okay, I think I should probably join a room so it's large enough with such small rooms. Should we go in?
A lot of them have 4 because they also
Oh, okay.
included a lot of us, but
Okay.
I am gonna go bounce around if that's cool. Just to listen in and see
Yeah.
what people are
And we just
reacting to this.
need to
Yeah.
come out. There's not really a debrief after this, so they can stay in until like just before 9:30.
Make sure you pause the recording too.
Are we the only ones here? Because ours just ended. I know I didn't hit the leave button.
Zoom must be wonky today.
I know, because I see our group is here.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, the clock started counting down.
Yeah.
There they are. All right, welcome back, everybody. We hope that you enjoyed exploring the toolkit. We're going to hear a little bit about networks that are established and what they've been doing, and then so that we can get an idea of some other thinking that goes into that toolkit before you get another chance to talk about it. Amity, could you put the slide up for us, please?
I have it up. Are people not seeing it?
No. No, this happened to me yesterday too. It's all good. I'm going to just talk a little bit. We're totally
We
good.
can see it
I
in
see it.
the
I
viewers
see
can
it.
see it. We can see it.
Can you? Okay. All right. There it is. Yes. Okay. So if you were with us last time, these implementation stages might look a bit familiar. We had asked you to think about where your county was in terms of implementing environmental literacy. And now we want you to sort of think from this side of these community-based partners networks, and where might you be, sort of give yourself a moment to self-assess in your community-based partners. And then we're going to actually get a chance to hear from 4 really amazing colleagues here in our state. If you want to go to the next slide, Andy, thank you. Our panelists are going to share with you the context of their networks. They are all in different places, and they really, I think, are going to give us a great lens into the variety of how our partnerships and our networks work and how they grow. Next slide, please. All right, so we're first going to hear from Kate Bilse. She's in Ventura. And Kate, if you could please share with us, how did you launch your new network, and how have you used the self-assessment tool to help guide the creation of common goals?
Hi, it's great to see you all today. And first, I wanted to say that Nathan Inoue, the science coordinator for Ventura County Office of Education, who's on the call, launched the network about 3 years ago. And then last year, he was able to apply to get me. I'm an AmeriCorps service volunteer, and I really helped expand our network. And so he had a list of different community-based partners in our area in Ventura, Santa Barbara, SLO counties. And then I was able to really go and contact these different organizations and expand the list. And so that was helpful. And then we were able to create like a more coordinated effort to reach organizations, and I created a website. So we had a centralized location to access all this different environmental education information. And so we had been doing a lot of different efforts this past year, like a webinar, professional development series, And then we were thinking of ways that we wanted to progress and make more collaborative efforts as an environmental education community of practice. And it was perfect timing because this is when the community-based partner network toolkit came out, and it really helped us self-reflect as a network and think of ways where we wanted to go, and also think of ways in how we can do more collaborative efforts. And so I use this where I looked at the network toolkit and I saw where we were and examples of where we were. And then I wrote down goals. And this was getting everyone's feedback too of like where we want to go, what collaborative projects we all want to work on together as a network. And then I came up with measures that we're all going to be working on this year to achieve. And then we're going to revisit this toolkit and go through the process again. So if anybody wants to know any more questions about how we use this toolkit, I'm super happy to answer any of those. And it was great. I highly recommend this. It really helped Nathan and I.
Thanks so much, Kate. And we are definitely going to have a few minutes for questions right at the end of all of our panelists. So if you want to put those in the chat or hold on to them, we'll get a chance to get there. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we're going to get to hear from Rob Wade. He's in Plumas County. And Rob, we would love to hear about how your community-based partner network looks in your remote area, how that affects your approach to networking.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been living and working up in Plumas County for the last 28 years. And I would really say in a lot of ways, the network has been in existence for those 28 years because it all comes down to relationships and trust. I think we all know that the work can only proceed at the speed of trust. And so it's just a very essential quality of knowing people, engendering that trust. You know, identifying someone as an ally and an asset is one step, but until people really have that trust and can see a shared vision and even a shared mission, then to me, the network, any kind of idea, concept of a network would lack any integrity and real direction. And so, you know, for the quarter century that I've been knocking around up here in my region, I think the main thing would be living rurally. Plumas County is actually roughly the shape of the Upper Feather River watershed, and it helps having sort of natural stewardship and scientific boundaries to our area. So all of the local phenomena and the local problems and issues that are related to the environment and natural resources are held both within the county and within the watershed. And I really began in kind of a watershed approach. The first name of the network was WATERS, which is Watershed Awareness Through Education, Recreation, and Stewardship. And so that brought together partners who were all involved in education, recreation, and stewardship. But I would say if I pulled all the way back to sort of when I got a little more formalized with building a network and a rhyme and a reason and a system for all of this, it really came down to just a simple activity that I call asset mapping. And it's really that idea of sort of, you know, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, or I guess it's maybe a Sesame Street. It's like, who are the people in your neighborhood? So who are the scientists and the stewards in our region who are doing science and stewardship work? Because that's ultimately the, you know, the lifeblood of the engineering and science that we can really model in our schools, that is a reflection of our locale and the place that we live. And so in doing that asset mapping, we were able to really map out all of the agencies, all of the NGOs, all, you know, every organization, and all the way down to the individual level, community by community, of who's here and what do they do and what are they working on. And so we mapped everybody. We turned over every stone and really daylighted all of the people within our region who are involved in this work. And then we, you know, built those relationships, organization to organization, but then also individual to individual. So we're at a point now that we're on not only networked with really every NGO, every agency in our region that is doing this kind of work, but every individual is then mapped and networked. So every one of my teachers in the county have a science and stewardship mentor, a local ologist and steward who is engaged in work. And we've tied that in very much in an NGS sort of framework And then we have an additional model we call outdoor core, where each grade level has its own thematic year. So it's easier to tie in specific scientists who are studying and working in a certain area. So again, I could get down to the weeds and get into a lot of detail, but the bottom line is every teacher needs an ally and a mentor for this work, especially at the elementary level where very few of our teachers have science background. And I've found, again, the asset mapping of all the organizations and entities, and then ultimately within that mapping all of the individuals, and then connecting people to people where trust can be built. And ultimately these mentors are mentoring our kids in our schools as well. So there's a lot more to say, but that's kind of, I would say, in a big mountain rural nutshell, how we do things, and really just showing up for each other. And I love, and I think this works everywhere. Urban, suburban, rural, that would still be the thing. It's people showing up for people for shared vision and mission.
Thank you so much, Rob. I think you've given a lot of us thoughts to chew on there when it comes to ways that we might organize our networks. We are going to hear from Amity Sandage next. Amity is from Santa Cruz, and Amity is going to share with us how her longstanding network has evolved and produced complex partnerships and co-leadership.
Thanks, Crystal. And I just love hearing the panelists before me. I get so much learning and inspiration from hearing about other networks. And what I say is actually going to build a lot on what Rob was just saying, because I feel like we've had, like you were just saying, it works in any area. And I feel like that's a lot of what you were saying is the same pattern of how ours has evolved. The network in Santa Cruz County, I'm from Santa Cruz County Office of Education, the environmental literacy coordinator here. And our Monterey Bay Environmental Educators Network dates back to 2013, when I was serving part-time as the Region 5 Creek coordinator and had seen a lot of positive partnerships and projects come out of an EE network that I had been part of in Santa Clara County. So I started by reaching out to people in my county to find out what was already going on and what people were interested in getting out of a network. And we're lucky enough to have a wealth of EE organizations in our county. And when I talked to them, I found they were actually getting tired of meeting and sharing information about what they were doing. And one partner had even coined a term for it that I've shared with a lot of people. He called it collaboration instead of collaboration. And so pretty quickly we knew we all had a shared desire for more authentic collaborative work that would increase our network members' capacities to better serve schools and not just share what we're all doing in our own little silos. So at the start, we ended up engaging in a lot of professional learning, some of it delivered by the County Office of Education, especially around Next Generation Science, which was launching then. And then a lot of it provided by network members who had the capacity to do that for their peers. And after learning deeply about NGSS, EE partners reviewed and revised their programs, and we created an early directory of their programs with links to grade level standards. And now we have a new, more sophisticated community-based partner hub that's just launching within Cali. But in these early days, that Google spreadsheet, that directory for our county was actually really useful to teachers and district planners and to our network. And going through that process built so much trust and relationship within our network. It's carried us through many new projects over the years. And we even created a brochure for that, that directory that went out to every teacher in the county in the pony system on paper, which you imagine that paper is gone these days. And we did an EE landscape survey of our largest districts to see what EE programs were being delivered at which grade levels and to which classrooms and which schools. And that helped us see where we had gaps in program access and gluts of certain types of programs. And since our EE partners in the network had established collaborative structures, they could then take that information and work together to differentiate their programs so they weren't competing. but they could build on each other's programs. So that was part of the work. And this was when we really began to shift our focus from just being a collaborative network to thinking about our collective impact on districts and really wanting to find a way to provide every classroom at every grade level with an outdoor learning experience that was fully embedded in their classroom curriculum and grounded in local environmental phenomena. And just as Rob was saying, like the trust and knowledge and relationships had all deepened. And so our COE had this aha moment of realizing that the complementary skills of the people in the network and of classroom teachers were an incredible asset that we could tap and that could add to our own county office's capacity to support teachers. So we paired EE partners with grade level teacher teams across the county in our Teacher Leadership Institute so that these teams could co-develop the lesson sequences that would center the local environment with outdoor programs fully embedded in the classroom lessons. So now we have a suite of these lesson sequences, K through 12, and we're in the process of figuring out how do we scale it up and have every teacher using these so that every student gets an experience at every grade level. And then in terms of a maturing network, I would also just close by saying the leadership of the network has also shifted over time. The COE is still an overarching backbone, but now we have subcommittees. We have a steering committee with co-chairs that's really grappling with how to best onboard new members and have people feel like they're a part of the vision and mission without having to restart completely from scratch every time new people come in. And also to have a sustainable system where when very active leaders leave the system, the work they're attached to lives on. And we also have a new equity committee with an EE partner taking the lead on supporting that subgroup. So it's not just the COE involved in the leadership.
Thank you, Amity. So amazing. All right, and then we are going to hear from Mary Barovia Walls, and Mary is from the Inland Empire, and she's going to give us a glimpse into how a network can form that's connected to and connects with a local COE, but isn't necessarily being steered by a COE.
Hello, everybody. Just wanted to let everyone know that the EEC does work on the traditional lands of the Tongva, Kauai, Yohaviatam, Chemehuevi, and other tribal lands as well. And through the EEC, it's a network that officially began in 2014, but kind of like Rob Wade said earlier, it's much older because it's all about relationships. And it was started by a handful of non-formal providers, along with the Inland Empire Community Foundation. And from the very early on, the county offices of education were part of, so not the leads, but part of. And the structure now is that the county offices, especially through science, are always invited to our board meetings, and we support each other through different initiatives. For example, the Riverside County Office of Education and San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools have joint district science leadership community of practices that the EEC has traditionally, and also before it was Creek, involvement in those meetings and connecting non-formal and formal education systems. We were also highly involved in the environmental literacy rollout, helping bring those non-formal educators into that formal education space and having dialogue about building environmental literacy in our region. Also through different events like our annual symposia, we were able to link more and more formal and non-formal together to have shared discussions. We've also done a lot of that mapping work where we, through some past grant funding, we've been able to map who are our community assets to help us in this environmental education, environmental literacy, and environmental justice work. And so you can see that on our website. We have a limited number of paper guides. So it's actually like a catalog of who can we reach out to and who can we network with for field trips, for in-school visits, for garden building in schools. And there's such a wide variety in that guide. And it's also digital on the website and an interactive Esri map. In all of that work, very similar to what Amity had said, is we have those who have been part of this network and the EEC for many, many years since it began. And now we have a new board. So we're constantly thinking about how do we bring in more new voices and traditionally unheard voices into our network, but then how do we also keep that institutional knowledge and those connections that have been part of this relationship building for decades. And in order to help us with that, we have really been growing in developing different, oh, you can keep, sorry, Amity, keep going. Keep going one more. Right here. So this is where we are right now, is building new groups based on where we need to grow as a region in dialogue with our network members, including county offices. And this year, our big vision and goal is to look at the theme of reciprocal healing within natural and human systems. And so we're looking at how do our different work groups and communities of practice help us further that idea and bring people together to better understand what healing looks like in our region. And the one event that we have coming up next week, if anybody's interested, so you can click it one more time, Amity, is actually one more, is back to school or back to nature night, and bringing Claire Latané and talking about healing within schools and the actual physical school site. And I see in the chat, if youth is a part of our advisory teams, that is one of our large goals. So what we, as a network, as a collaborative, we have a very vision driven goal, and we have long-term and short-term goals. And one of our short-term goals this year is to bring youth into our board. We haven't done that yet. Last year, we brought much more youth voice into our events, and that is our next step. And I believe that's it. One last thing is, in our little regional breakouts, we were able to connect to our COE friend in history, social science. So that is an amazing place for us to grow, especially in our theme of reciprocal healing. Part of that is looking deeper at Indigenous voice in our region and how that is lacking in the curricular materials that we have available. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. I really appreciate hearing from all four of our speakers and just the variety and also the vision for how they're growing their programs and their collaboratives together. So we have a few minutes. If you want to ask any questions, you could either stick them in the chat or come off mute and call out, and then we'll have our speakers respond.
I have a quick question. It's kind of a logistical thing. the websites are beautiful and I love them. I was noticing on one is a Google site and one is, I'm not sure, your own domain. I'm curious if you manage that yourself, if somebody is telling you what you can or cannot put on a website, just looking at it from a county office lens and how we, we have a communications team and how you message things. So I'm just kind of curious about the back end of that, if that's okay.
Yeah, and I would invite people not on the panel to also respond if you have networks and manage this. I'll just say that mine is one of the Google sites, and it could be, it's always on my list to make it better and have it be more useful. It's really not a key tool for our network at this point, but our county office does allow a separate Google site for all of the environmental literacy resources and information, because it's a lot easier for me to update and add things and change things than having to do on our main site. So we just collaborate with our information coordinator at the county office to make sure that they interface well. And
so there is a button on your county office website to your
Yes.
website. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And if others want to chime in about that question, feel free.
I just put something in the chat box. I said, in terms of how we do the websites, we have a network facing site for CBPs. It's also similar to Amity's. It's just a Google site. So that's like co-facilitated with the network and the co-chairs. And then we also have a different site that's teacher facing and school facing for them to find the partners. So that's kind of like the two different sites that we maintain.
And then we'll have a slide later in the presentation, but just to make sure everyone's aware, there's a new site for community-based partner. It's a directory of community-based partners throughout the state that's searchable by county and topic and region, and that's housed on the Cali website, just launched, and that counties can have their own branded version of that website where it just shows the organizations that work in their county. So several of our county offices have a branded version of that site. And that's also on our main web pages.
And then I wanted to speak to being outside of a county office of education. Our website, we run ourselves, which is good because we don't have to check on anything. But I guess the negative side is because we're all volunteer, it really relies on our very limited amount of time. So it's not updated as often as we would like, but we did get grant funding through the Mosaic Pisces grant during COVID to help bring more things online. So that was a really great opportunity.
It would just seem like it would be so necessary with the amount of information out there to have a central place that at least, whether it's volunteer or whoever is just kind of monitoring that, because there's just so much information, right? And so many partners. So thank you for the conversation. I appreciate it.
All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Olivia.
Hello, everybody. My name is Olivia Kernan, and I am the Environmental Literacy Coordinator at the Humboldt County Office of Education. I would love to invite us to break out into our regional groups again and have a discussion around what we've learned and where our community-based partner networks are. So the discussion questions are: who has a community-based partner network? How did you find your participants and get started? What stage is your network currently in? And again, those stages are the ones that Crystal showed us earlier in the slideshow. And how might you move your network to the next stage? So I'm going to invite us again to go into our regional breakout rooms for the next 10 minutes.
Did you want to say anything about where to find the self-assessment tool in the toolkit and what's in there? There were some slides before those questions, so I just wanted to check in.
Sure. So on page 26 of the toolkit, you'll find the network self-assessment tool. And this tool is intended as a template for networks to adapt to their goals, this is not an evaluation and there's no judgment. So this is just more of a tool that can be used. So it's also a way to conduct self-evaluations as you continue to grow your network and make sure that you're reaching those strategic goals that you had set. And then I'm so sorry, the community-based partner network self-assessment rubric, the three main pillars are the cooperation, collaboration, and integration. On page 28. All right, so let's go ahead and go into those discussion groups. Thank you, everybody, for such a wonderful regional breakout discussion. I want to go ahead and turn it over to Jen for our closing.
We don't, Jen, are you there?
I was just looking for Jen. I'm like, is she there?
Maybe we lost her and she left our breakout room. She was just in the Region 5 breakout room. Maybe she clicked the leave meeting button, which I know I have done. I'll just go ahead and move on here.
Yeah, please.
So we wanted to close with some important opportunities to move the work forward. As mentioned briefly before, there is a new Cali community-based partner hub that is a searchable database and has been recently launched. So it's going to continue to provide more complex ways to connect. But for right now, it's a way to find out who is offering environmental education programs across the state. And we're still encouraging the organizations that offer those programs to add themselves to the hub. So it's an ongoing process to get it really representing everything that's out there. So please feel free to use that to look for partners in your area or share it with partners in your area who aren't represented. And they can create a free account and list their programs. And county offices can have a separate branded hub that just shows the ones in their county. So we'll provide more information on that as we move forward in the community of practice. And then we also have set up a way for you all to share any existing networks that you have. We heard from just a few today, and we know there's lots of great work happening across the state. And so that very simple form is just a way to create one single list that will show what active networks there are right now. And that list populates a page on Cali where people can look up and see, oh, is there a network in my region and who's the contact? And then we also asked a few of the folks in our innovation hub who have networks if they were willing to have any visitors just come and see how a network runs and what it's like. Since a lot of them are meeting virtually now, it's very easy to invite outside folks to come and visit. So there's a table of folks you can drop in on with our meeting schedules if you wanted to visit a network to get an idea of what you might want to do with your own. And we'll also have a webinar series to support use of this toolkit that will be developed by the innovation hubs, the county office one and the community-based partner hub will collaborate to have something that can be used with other audiences, not just the county offices. This is just a screenshot of that Cali community-based partner hub. where you can see that you can look at community-based partners and their programs in the tabs at the bottom, and there's a lot of filters. We have a survey about today, and then there's also, I don't know how it didn't make it on the slides, but I have an interest survey that is, we wanted to know if people would be interested in having a network of networks, like leaders, if people might be interested in a quarterly sort of support group or community of practice for folks who are leading networks in the future. And that's something our county office hub could provide a space for folks who want to come together and share what's working with their networks and not. So I'll find that link and put it in the chat, and we'll definitely include it in the follow-up email from the event. And just all of our contacts are here. Thank you all for coming. We're so grateful that you're spending time with us. Feel free to reach out. And please do remember to actually register for all of the community of practice meetings. It's not automatic that you get the link to join the next one. They're all unique, so you have to register for them all. And that's it. Just know the toolkit can be found at that administrators tab on the Cali website. And we're so grateful that you all came today, and we will see you at the next meeting.
Will we get a copy of this PowerPoint?
Yes, in the follow-up email coming from Amy Frame at 10 Strands.
Fantastic. Thank you. This is
Yeah.
wonderful.
And just so you know, in the exit survey, it does have that question, Amity, about whether or not they want to join another a support group. Yes.
Okay, great. So just do the exit survey and we're set.
Yeah.
Yay.
See you all in December. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.